Welcome back to the Weekly Cup Series. It's your self-proclaimed favorite virtual host here, Eric Banghart, Manager of Global Sales at Inovonics. Today, another great partner, Morgan with Flair Electronics. Yes, that's his real name, and no, I don't know the story from his parents, will join us today. Flair is a Powered by Inovonics partner that designs and sells a number of creative and timely wireless applications utilizing the Inovonics wireless infrastructure and the endless ingenuity of Morgan and his team. Most recently, Morgan created an incredibly helpful device and nurse call system for monitoring ventilators in temporary medical facilities. Stay tuned to learn more about this and other exciting products from Flair. Please keep those comments and questions coming and throughout today's presentation for the Q&A at the end. With no further ado, Morgan, take it away.
Thank you, Eric. It's a pleasure to be here. Flair has partnered with Inovonics for many years, and we really enjoy that partnership and making cool products with them. Yes, my parents did have a big sense of humor, and the name goes back about 7 generations, but I think my dad did it mostly to me to make me a tough kid on the playground. So it's a lot of fun, and so I'm here today to tell you about some of our great products where we use the Inovonics radio systems, our LED alarm panels, and some of our sensors powered by Inovonics.
And Morgan, before you jump in there, why don't we go ahead and change that display setting like we did earlier. So yep, up at the top there, perfect. Great. Yep.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we were going to ask a poll question at this time, right, Nikki?
Yep, no problem. So first question for you guys today, go ahead and put this up, is has anybody used Flair Electronics magnetic contacts or annunciators? So if you can go ahead and answer that question for us, we'll give you a moment to get your answers in here. All right, looks like about 75% of you voted. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share this with you, Morgan, so you can see it. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, I sure can. Thank you. That's a great response. And thank you to all of those folks who've used our products. As the presentation says here, we're gonna talk a little bit about Flair. We're going to talk about LED alarm annunciators, our fence vibration sensors, some nurse call products, pull cords and push buttons, some of the other products we've made where we use Inovonics transmitters. We're going to open it up for some questions and then wrap it up. So Flair's been in business since 1967, so we've been around over 50 years. And I often at trade shows or talking to some of the older guys in the industries, they'll tell me stories about using our magnetic contacts or annunciators way back when. We used to private label a lot of our contacts for companies like Wells Fargo, for instance. So one of the things we love to do is talk to installers and integrators and get them to share their tough security applications with us, and we love to create new solutions and build new products based on what you guys need. And we can often do things very quickly because we are based in Pomona, California, and we have the equipment to build everything that we produce. So we can react quickly to your needs. Our website is flairsecurity.com, and you'll find a lot of great pictures and data sheets and other information there to show you what we can do. We do distribute our products throughout the US and Canada, and you can find a map with the closest distributor to you on our website. But we also encourage you to call anytime and talk about an application with us directly. Often that short circuits a lot of conversation, and we can get to the meat of the matter quickly. Our products include magnetic contacts, annunciators, nurse call systems, door alarms and controls, perimeter security sensors, environmental sensors like water sensors, and even tilt switches. Okay, let's talk about LED alarm annunciators. So we have a couple different models. Our 582-1015-24, that's a 24 zone. We have a 32 zone, and then our ENS 24, ENS 32, and ENS 48. And those are nurse call systems. So operation of these, when an Inovonics transmitter sends an alarm message, an LED on our annunciator will illuminate and the sounder pulses, alerting a guard or a caregiver to the zone or room associated with that transmitter. So as you see here, there is a identification area here where you can list a room number or zone number or door, and the LED will illuminate next to that zone when the transmitter is triggered. And our annunciators can be programmed to either follow or latch in on the alarm. So what I mean by follow is when the transmitter alarms, you'll get the sounder and the LED on our panel illuminating. And then when that transmitter clears, the zone will automatically clear. In the latching version, when the transmitter an alarm is triggered, the zone LED will latch in, and then when the transmitter clears, there is a button on the side of the panel that you have to press to reset. There's also a button that when any alarm comes in, you press to silence. Okay. If the transmitters have a low battery or missing or trouble condition, one of the status LEDs will illuminate here, and also the LED associated with that transmitter will pulse, and the sounder will chirp to let you know which transmitter is having a problem. So it's very simple to see. A simple, highly visual display identifies immediately where a problem is. It's one of the best features of these annunciators. As I said, the sounder is up here on the side. It has a baffle, so you can adjust the volume low or high depending on the room where it's installed. The identification label here is easy to remove. There's a plexiglass cover that just pops off the front, and then that ID label is a Word document that you can type in the specific zones or doors or whatever you want to label them as, and that just goes right behind the plexiglass cover. Registering transmitters is super easy. There's on the 24 and 32 zone models, it's just one transmitter per zone. But on our newer 48 zone, you can register up to 5 transmitters per zone or per room. And that's kind of geared more towards nurse call, where you have rooms with multiple devices in the room, like a pull cord or a bed push button station, or maybe even a motion sensor. Our LED annunciators will work with pagers and smart devices like smartphones and PCs for remote notification of alarms, and also for generating reports on activity. Okay, installation is super easy for the panels. You simply mount them to the wall with either 2 or 4 screws or surface mounted alarm panels. Registering transmitters is super easy. This LCD screen, you put it into programming mode with these buttons here. You press reset on the transmitter. It shows up on the LCD, and then with the buttons, you just assign it to the zone or room number you want. On our larger annunciators, you can connect a PC and download a pre-made list of transmitters and serial numbers. So it's You don't have to do them one by one. All of our annunciators come with built-in battery backup, but we also recommend connecting them to a UPS. A lot of facilities across the country have sketchy power, and these can go into AC alarm if the voltage drops too low. So connect it to a UPS. Okay, applications. So the best place to use these, or the reason why these are popular alarm panels, is where there are on-site guards or life safety personnel, like policemen or caregivers in nursing or assisted living facilities, who want to see the status of the system at all times. They just want to be able to glance over and see what's going on, and if everything's green, then it's good. If there's a red LED and a sounder, then they know there's a problem and they can react quickly. Installations include assisted living facilities, surgical centers, rehab centers, hotels, apartments, schools, theaters, social service centers, police stations, jails, and more. Like, for instance, hotels, we do a lot where our panel will be put in the administration office, and they'll use it to monitor the perimeter doors at the hotel, or maybe some gates around the pool or something. Even they'll even put in like a motion sensor in the concession area, or a pressure pad in front of the desk, so they can quickly, the admin can quickly know when someone's ready to register. Apartments, perimeter doors, garage doors, schools and theaters and service centers and police stations, those are more like panic alarm systems. So a lot of good applications. Okay, let's talk about some devices we make with Inovonics, great equipment. First, our fence vibration sensors, and we've got models VIB100W and VIB520W. These work with Inovonics receivers and Flair LED annunciators. The sensor and Inovonics transmitter are built into weatherproof NEMA 4X plastic boxes. The sensor attaches to a fence with a bracket and just 2 screws. And the sensor picks up vibration traveling through the continuous metal chain link due to someone climbing or cutting the fence. And once the microcontroller, as part of the sensor, once the intrusion exceeds the sensitivity profile, an alarm is triggered and transmitted to a receiver.
Hey Morgan, why don't you take a chance to see if folks are currently installing perimeter security systems while you're talking about this?
Okay.
Launch the survey here.
Great, thank you.
Wow, no problem. So if you guys could just let us know if you're actually installing perimeter security systems right now, that'd be helpful.
So the range on these models is 50 to 60 feet of fence. Some of the other great features, the sensitivity of each sensor can be individually adjusted. So this means, like, if you have a fence that may have a tight section and a loose section, or it's an older fence, you can put a sensor on that particular 50 feet and adjust it to that section of the fence. That may be a higher or lower sensitivity than a section further down. There are LEDs on the sensor, so when you mount the sensor to the fence and power it up and select your sensitivity, you can see by looking at the LEDs how the sensor is responding to a climb or a cut, and that enables you to adjust the sensitivity easily and tailor it for each fence section. You're able to deploy just one sensor. Maybe it's just a cage around some HVAC equipment or a compressor, or maybe it's, you know, a 500-foot line where you need 10 sensors. So, and the nice thing about building the Inovonics transmitter into each sensor is that on your panel, you'll know exactly which fence section or which cage or which area is actually alarming. It works on curved fences or fences with different elevations. You know, unlike a beam that is point to point, this can go up and down and around the corners and stuff. With just 2 screws, and oftentimes if you know, we're providing when we're providing the Inovonics a receiver or an LED annunciator, we'll pre-program everything. So you'll literally just each sensor will have a number on it, and you can just mount it to the fence and hook up your receiver, and away you go. So easy to install, a lot of fence. Each sensor is powered by just 2 AA batteries. They last years in the field. The sensors actually go to sleep when there's nothing happening at the fence, so they conserve power very well. And again, unlike beams, the sensors aren't affected by blowing tumbleweeds or you know, blowing debris in the air. And you know, an animal or something just brushing up against the fence won't trigger an alarm. As far as system design, we're more than happy to help. We do a lot of assistance in this area, and we just ask, you know, send in a Google Earth photo with the perimeter marked, or just a sketch of the yard with the fence line and where the gates are and stuff. And we have a little worksheet, a Word worksheet that we'll send to you with some good questions to get answers to, so that we can prepare a good quotation for you. Installation is super easy. Here's a photo of the back of the sensor. So with this clip, you just capture 2 of the chain links, and the sensor screws to that easily. For small gates, like one-man gates, we recommend just installing a sensor on the panel adjacent to the hinge, and anybody climbing on the fence or cutting through that gate, climbing on the gate or cutting through, the vibration will travel right through the hinge into the sensor and trigger an alarm. And then on a rolling gate, maybe with two or more panels, you can put the sensor right in the middle. And that's really nice because you don't have to do any trenching or run kind of elastic cables anywhere with the battery-powered Inovonics transmitter built into each sensor. Obviously, you want to clean any vegetation off the fence, tighten or remove any hanging signs, and make sure the gates are secure when they're closed and aren't rattling, and this will lower any false alarms. Registering the Inovonics receiver, registering the transmitters to the Inovonics receiver or Flair LED annunciators is super easy, just by pressing the reset on the built-in transmitter. And replacing batteries is super easy. Just remove the lid, the front circuit board comes off, and the 2 batteries are just clipped to the back. Okay, applications, like we were talking about earlier, small equipment cages, you know, commercial yards and fence lines under 1,000 feet. That's really kind of the economical sweet spot for these sensors. To protect cars and materials and equipment, installations include storage facilities, car and boat dealers, scrap metal yards, bus depots, substations. Do a lot with construction sites, remote towers, and even Mexico border. We provide a lot of sensors to the Border Patrol, just for all the variety of different metal fences around the border towns and stuff. Okay, a couple other devices in the nurse call arena. Our pull cords and push buttons are model EPC 500W and EPB 440W. These have built-in EN 1941 transmitters, and when you trigger the device by either pulling the cord or pushing the buttons, it sends an alarm message to any Inovonics-based call system or receiver. It doesn't have to be one of ours. Features, easy single pull or push. Each device has an LED on the front and a built-in sounder, and those flash, and the sounder activates or pulses when the device is activated. This lets the person, the resident in the room, know that a call has been initiated. They operate just using a little lithium disc battery, and they can be either recessed in the wall or wall mounted. And the pull cord is waterproof, so you can mount it in the shower as well. For recessed units, just recess a single gang box in the wall. For wall mount units, we provide a little plastic back box that just screws to the wall with a couple anchors. Registering to an Inovonics receiver or LED annunciator is again very easy, just by pressing the reset and selecting the zone. And replacing batteries is super easy. These, as I said, they work with our Flair nurse call systems or any other Inovonics-based systems. Okay, so some of the other products we've built over the years with using Inovonics equipment. We built a little water probe that works with the Inovonics EN 1751. It's a real popular item for apartments and any other areas where water damage is super critical. We build a little battery-powered gate alarm, and you can put an EN 1210 right into that case. So that's good where you don't have power out at a gate or maybe a pool gate or something. It comes with a magnetic contact, and it will produce a local local sounder alarm, and then if it's connected to the 1210, it will send an alarm message back to a panel. We also make tilt switches where we install the tilt switch inside a NEMA 4X box and include a transmitter. So that can be mounted on an HVAC unit, on the door of an HVAC unit, or somewhere else, a trailer, something that may, if it moves, you want it to alarm. And as Eric said, recently we built a ventilator monitor that can trigger an EN 1941 for a call system. Okay, with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions. Thank you for listening so far.
All right, great. Thanks, Morgan. We do have a few questions, so I'll go ahead and just start sorting through them here for you. Let's see. First question. How does the water detector work? Does water create a circuit?
Yes, that's how it works. So we have two versions of that. The one I showed you in the picture, it just has two probes, and that typically mounts to a baseboard in a basement or under a cabinet. And the two probes are mounted such that they're just hovering above the ground, a 1/16 of an inch. Then we also have a kind of what we call a hockey puck. It's a round sensor with 4 probes. Also, it sits on the floor with the probes about a 1/16 of an inch above the floor. And when water pools underneath the sensor and bridges the gap between two probes, either the 2 probes on the small unit or any 2 of the probes on the hockey puck, it creates a circuit and triggers the alarm. Yep.
Okay, great. Next question. On the LED annunciators, can you register multiple devices to one zone?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. On the 24 and 32 zone units, you can only register one device per zone. So, a door or a motion or a call, it would be just one per one. But on our newer ENS 48, you can register up to 5 devices per zone. So, for instance, in an assisted living facility with a resident living in a room, they may have a pull cord in the bathroom, maybe one by the bed. There might be a magnetic contact on a window, and those can all be registered to one zone or one room on the panel.
Okay, great. Next question. How many sensors for 50 feet? What is the square foot area covered per sensor?
Okay, I think we're talking about our vibration sensors there, probably for the fence. So,
Don't specify, but this question is from Chan. Chan, if you do want to specify in the chat, I can go ahead and read that to Morgan, or you can raise your hand and verbally ask him too. But maybe go on that assumption.
yeah, well, I'll go on the assumption. So
Yes, he does say yes, it's for the fence.
Yeah. Okay, so basically with an 8-foot or a 10-foot tall chain link fence, the range is the linear range. So it would be 50 to 60 feet of fence. So that would be 25 to 30 feet on either side of the sensor. Each sensor would be protecting that section of fence, that 25 to 30 feet on either side. And so so on a 500-foot fence, the spacing between sensors would be 50 to 60 feet, and you'd need approximately 10 for a 500-foot fence.
Okay, great. Next question. Is the vent alarm UL approved?
No, not at this time. We do have plans to first get our ENS 48 alarm panel UL listed, and the primary focus of that panel will be nurse call, but eventually we do have plans to use that panel to monitor more medical equipment like ventilators and pulse oximeters. And because those are used more often, well, they're used in assisted living facilities, but also many hospitals, it will be necessary to, get a higher UL rating on all of that equipment at some point in the future.
Next question. Does the push button device have an external reset button to clear it on the annunciator?
So our annunciators have 2 configurations, a following configuration and a latching configuration. So the push button that I showed you latches in at the push button. So when the annunciator is in a following configuration, it would follow the push button. So when the push button is depressed, it latches in. The alarm on the panel latches in and stays in alarm until the push button is reset, is released, at which point the EN 1941 transmitter will send a restore message and our alarm panel will automatically restore. The other configuration is latching, and so if you have a push button like the one featured, you push it, it would latch in, our alarm panel would latch in, a caregiver goes to the room and resets the push button. But in the latching configuration, our panel would stay in alarm until the caregiver went back to the panel and pressed the reset button on the side of the panel to restore the zone to a secure state.
And I think this is a follow-up question to that. So how do you release the push button?
So the button itself latches in. So when you press it, it stays in a latched mode. So you have to, so a caregiver would have to go to the room and press the button again to release it. And same with the pull cord. The pull cord is activated by pulling the cord down, and that pulls the red latch down and triggers the alarm. When the caregiver goes to the room to see what's happened and reset the pull cord, they need to push that red latch mechanically back up into a secure state.
Okay, and then this one might be a follow-up question from the previous question. If you have a fence sensor every 100 feet, then you're no more than 50 feet from any sensor. Is that correct?
Yes, but that is, so when we say 50 to 60 feet of range, that's the total distance that the sensor is protecting. So that's 25 to 30 feet on the left and right side of the sensor. And then the other sensor is, 50 feet away from that sensor, and it's protecting 25 to 30 feet on either side. So the sensors are only 50 to 60 feet apart.
Okay, great. And then next question, can you write anything on the Annunciator template? And is it reusable with dry erase or otherwise easy to change a zone description?
Yes, kind of yes to all of those questions. There's a plexiglass cover, actually an acrylic cover, and oftentimes caregivers will just use a grease pencil or some sort of dry erase pencil, and they'll, the white paper template behind it will be clear, and they'll just write on the acrylic cover what room or what device it is. But it's also super easy just to pop the acrylic cover off, and you can replace the paper template either with a new template generated on using Word, or you can write in zone descriptions, or I also see people use P-touch labels often to just if a zone changes, just tape over the old zone ID with the new one.
Okay, great. And then it looks like I've got one last question for you. Why do your fence sensors have lower false alarm rates?
Okay, that's a good one too. Remember I said that each sensor can be tuned to that particular section of fence, and what that enables you to do is really tune the whole system for the particular fence line. Oftentimes other types of vibration sensors, either microphonic cables or other shaker sensors, they have a black box back at the head end, and that you're setting one sensitivity for the whole fence line, the whole cable. And so if you have different sections of the fence reacting differently to a climb or an impact of some sort, it will it could trigger more easily than our sensors, where you can tune them to the individual sections. So.
Okay, great. And before we wrap things up today, we did forget to share one poll question. So if you all don't mind, if you could give us feedback, just one more question today. Does anybody work with surgical or rehab centers or assisted living facilities? If you could answer that poll question. All right, they're coming in, great. Okay.
So while you're answering that question, like I said at the beginning of the presentation, we love working with installers and integrators to help you solve your tough applications. And with Inovonics as a partner, it's really easy to come up with some great solutions quickly. I know Nikki's going to share my contact information with you, and we're always happy to talk to you guys or get an email with any questions or any applications. And we run a lean organization at Flair, and we do answer the phones ourselves. So you're guaranteed to talk to a live person. And one more thing, just another plug. As many of you might know, Interlogics went out of last year, and we have a real wide variety of magnetic contacts and many models that cross with the Silmar part numbers. And we can always attach those magnetic contacts to a Inovonics transmitter.
That's great. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your presentation, Morgan. And we will go ahead and send a follow-up email with Morgan's email. Like he mentioned, if you have more questions, I'll make sure I send the follow-up video of this presentation and the slide deck. And before I hand things back over to Eric, I did want to just make note in the chat area. I did share a link for next week's Inovonics Weekly Cup. And it's going to be our very own Sandy Fisher presenting. And the topic will be a structured approach to creating a physical security plan. So if you'd like to join us, you can just click on that link there. We'd love to see you there. And then without further ado, Eric, do you want to go ahead and share a few closing words?
You bet. Thanks again for joining us, and please reach out to Flair or our territory managers for more information on this unique offering of products and great partnership. So our coffee card winners today are Melissa Clark with Electronic Security Systems powered by LaForce, Ron Sales with Magnasphere, and Nipul Dishi. So thank you. Please take care when you're out in the big, crazy COVID-filled world, and we'll catch up with you next week again here on the Weekly Cup. Cheers.